Learn to be super successful. Subscribe to my channel, Meathead.
For those of you that have been in big organizations, this is the organizational chart you should have had. As I told you, when I went back to university to please my mother after I got out of the military, I went through school, straight A's. I convinced the school that I should be working on my graduate degree at the same time I was working on my undergraduate degree, even though I was having to repeat undergraduate school because I had 85% F's and D's. I taught at the graduate level, and I hadn't gotten my undergraduate degree yet. And I taught, the dean of the School of Business was a guy named Raby, who was a PhD from Stanford, had been the president of U.S. Steel or something, and he allowed me to teach classes. And his chart wasn't exactly like this, but it was similar. And so then I developed my own, which is this. And so when they interviewed on campuses, I'm pretty sure they still do. And so when the interviewing people came around, I'm not going to interview with any of you. I know where I'm going. Then the semester ended, and I went on 2 job interviews. I went to Carnation, which was a right-wing John Birch company, which I liked the idea between what they had. And I interviewed with a company called Dunlop, which at that time made cardboard boxes. And for whatever reason, I liked those 2 companies. I hadn't thought about Wall Street yet. So I went on 9 interviews at Dunlap, and I went on 10 interviews with Carnation. Carnation has since been bought up. It's owned by one of the big, I think a hedge fund bought it many years ago. Now, this was 1971. There were no 8, 10 interviews like Google, and these guys have 12, 14 interviews. And I told you, I believe the first day or second day, why do they have these interviews? Nobody could make a decision, and they want to be able to blame it on consensus management if somebody fucks up. So that's why they have 10, 12 interviews. So I'm interviewing with the vice chairman of Carnation for an entry-level job. They were at that time maybe $3, $4, $5 billion company. And we're having lunch in his office. And he said, Mr. Peña, you probably are at least a little bit concerned why you had so many interviews and why you're here with the vice chairman. I hadn't really thought about it, so I dealt with generals and at embassies and stuff, so I'm used to high-performance people. I said this before I even knew he was high-performance. I just assumed he was. And he said that I retire tomorrow, so I'm not afraid of you. I'm 24 years old. He's the 10th interview at Carnation. I said, I beg your pardon? And he said, I retire tomorrow. And they said, please be seated for lunch. We're having lunch in his office. And I'm not afraid of you. The QLA seminar is not just a seminar. It is a blueprint for creating generational wealth as fast as humanly possible. I teach you how to turn nothing into millions, billions, and even trillions. If you want to take control of your life, to create a legacy that lasts for generations, the time is now. Do not wait for the right moment. The right moment is this moment. Be bold, be selfish, be ruthless, and take no prisoners. I will still do seminars, but I won't be able to do this forever. Act now or not at your own peril. Thank you very much. That was the beginning of the end of my corporate career. And so we sat and talked, and he said, we had so many interviews, nobody wanted to check that you weren't qualified or that you were overqualified, because you're certainly one of the two. So I spent 2 hours with him having lunch, and that was my signal. I knew I was never going to be part of the corporate realm. And he said, having you here would be trying to stick a round peg in a square hole. Doesn't mean you wouldn't be chairman someday, but I said, well, thank you very much. And so I left. I didn't get a call from Dunlap. And then finally, a captain from the military who had left the military and then went into the corporate world. And they just started HR. So he was their first HR guy. Before that, it was called personnel. So he says, Mr. Peña, you deserve some sort of answer. Why don't we meet for a drink? And coincidentally, he had gone to the same OCS training I did 18, 20 years before. So we're sitting and having a drink in Marina del Rey, I still remember. And you said that you wonder why, you had 9 interviews and similar story. He says, no, they didn't know where to check, what box to check. And use the same square hole, round peg analogy. So I laughed, chuckled. And those days, Jack was back. Jack Daniels chugged a double on the rocks back. This isn't a job offer, is it? And he laughed. He said, no, not hardly. And he said, but I just, I thought you deserved a heads up. Now, you would have either got a job or not got a job, 1 or 2 interviews. And it's what ultimately turned me to Wall Street. And so as I'm leaving that Marina del Rey bar, I asked him, well, where does somebody like me fit in or not fit in, or it doesn't matter what the peg is or square or round. He says, Wall Street. It's also where the money is. And that was the beginning. That was the beginning. I asked myself once in a while, not recently, what if I would have got a job in one of those 2 places? Fuck. I might have been just like you. It scares the shit out of me. Nothing scares me. And I told you, or it's on the YouTube, and all you guys know all my YouTubes, but I'm going to, just for fun, I'm going to repeat one of them, the story. Then and now, the most fancy, luxurious officers club, which I don't have anymore, is in Ramstein. It's an Air Force base in Germany. And when they were sending you to the hospital in Vietnam in those days, or even Korea, they stopped there. They have a massive hospital. Then they send you on to Bethesda or someplace. So I'm walking in the Ramstein Officers Club, and there's like the bar is like there, and there's like 150 people, trying to get drinks. And so I asked a guy I knew, a major, what's the story? Were we at war or something? He says, no, they inherited $1.4 million. Now, nobody believes me, but I had never heard the word million before. Never heard the word million. And I said, could you write it down for me? And so, he wrote on a wet napkin, and it's kind of smeared. 1, 4 with the zeros. I said, honestly, well, we better start drinking. We might run out of money. I had no concept of what $1 million was. Although the drinks were only 25 and 35 cents then. I'd still be drinking probably. And I started thinking about it. Money. No. Money and Dan were mutually exclusive. Going to jail for robbing a bank, maybe, but not Money and Dan. And then the extension of that, as I got a bunch of awards. And both of those generals, they awarded me something. And we're at the bar. And you know how you can see, there's a mirror behind the bar. You can see yourself in the mirror. On this side was a real tall 2-star general, Woody Vaughn, and Roy Atterbury on the right, on the other side of me. And he said, a smart boy like you, Danny, could get wealthy in the civilian world. So I connected 1 4 with zeros. I was better than anybody. I was a rocket star as a young guy, officer. Civilian world, which I had no intention to go into the civilian world. I was going to have to go back to university while you're still in the military to fulfill my promise to my mom. But then I was out of the Army in 6.5 months. I took action. I've always taken action, just like most of you don't. It's to be, you heard Marcus yesterday say, it's all right to take your time to make the right decision, but you got to take action. And he talked about waiting another 30 days. Remember? You probably don't because you're fucking brain dead. But he said that, standing right there, his little skinny body. And so far, I don't know, most of you don't have any careers to speak of, but if you knew any of the people that you saw get real successful, it's because they took action. The fat guy that lives next door to the king now, Ravi, with his looks like Mr. Flab, took action. He told him when he came here to talk to the group, he had done, since he left the seminar after I threw him out 3 times, he had done 27 or 28 deals, and he had already exited 15 or 20 of them. But he took action. Even though I thought today was the last day, like I said last night, can't believe it, but anyway. If you don't take action, you waste the money, the time. Some of you, have never been in a place like this. So maybe, as I teased you the first night, I believe, this is a jolly holiday, expensive holiday, not really expensive holiday, expensive for you holiday. But it's all about taking action. I read a few emails this morning, and I told you that I get a plethora of emails when I'm giving the seminar because it jars their memory that, I probably should be doing something. And a lot of kids listen to me, like some of you, but don't do anything. And I should just have a sign on my various social media accounts. You know how you see fake news come out when action, healthcare, action, just flashing. And so I read a couple of the emails, and I won't be answering them, but one of them came to the seminar summer of 2020. And then I read then I read the last paragraph, and everybody says thank you and God bless you and all that shit. All that shit doesn't mean anything. Still working on his first deal, summer 2020. 5 years. Yet we have people that have been in and exited in the same time frame. Could those people have exited with more money? Probably. Could Vito go more than he's doing, and he's in the process of initiating his exit action? For sure. For sure. Now he doesn't waste 85% of his time. Now 85% of his time is he's taking care of business. But he's had it. And some of the kids do. I don't think he's burned out. I wouldn't call it burnout. This like after the 9th year, 11th month, and 3rd week, I'm sitting at my desk. I looked at the phone, and that was it. I had had enough. Now, nobody in this room is it. Well, based on the paperwork you gave me, nobody in this fucking room should be anywhere near or approaching burnout. Now, you may be burned out with your marriage. You may be burned out at your job for all the shit that you think you take. You may, but not trying to construct a machine that shits out generational wealth. We're going to see this afternoon, I'm going to give you the formula for 5 calls a day, how to build generational wealth. 5 calls a day. And I say this not to try to get under your skin. Most of you won't do it. Because it's so simple, some of you will attempt it. Attempt is the operative word. Not complete it. 5 calls a day. Sounds pretty easy, doesn't it? When I received your weekly reports, that's the first thing I went to. It was about number 61 or 62. I cunted out. No. And then somebody emailed back, 61 should be I cunted out, not no. And to the extent you ever get an email from me, it's not likely. I use fonts. That's the size of the letters, right? Font. I used 72, whatever the max is, in red across the page to make sure you see it. My disdain or whatever. But even when I'm happy, I said, great, keep pushing, in big font like this. So be great at the top of the page, keep pushing. But it's always big and in the max red. Once in a while, I push the wrong button and it's purple or something else, but it's meant to be red. My computer skills they say my computer skills are pretty good for my age, but I know my grandkids, to the extent I've been around a little bit, which only a little bit, Grandpa, no, you don't do it that way. And I don't know how long they've had those pads or whatever they have, but they're much more skilled. But it's not likely I'm going to call my grandson, who's 10, if I can get hold of somebody else that's on my payroll to show me. Now, last night you saw whom? Oh, buddy. Now, there's 3 Steve Jobs movies. Was the movie the one just before he goes public, he's walking by Woz, and he says, what's that list for? And he says, this is who's getting shares in the IPO, and he rips it up. He says, it's not that one, okay. It's the one that he finds out his daughter's smart, even though he denied being the father. Yeah, okay, that's the one, okay. Comments about, no, first, I've already said he changed the world. There's no doubt about it, he changed the world, right? And a lot of the kids, when they get out of school or they don't get out of school, they start out in the real world. I want to change the world. I want the world to be a better place. And I don't believe any of this, but I'm just telling you. I want the world to be a better place based on what I did. He certainly did that. And he got rich. He could have got richer, but he got pretty rich based on that. And then they threw him out. And then when he came back, so he accomplished most of the boxes you could tick for what the kids want to do with the world. Not all of them. And now, because then it wasn't known as widespread what an asshole he was. So, there's been 2 or 3 movies made about him, and each movie about him is, worse, not worse as a movie, but shows his character flaws.